we used to do is we take the cost function, as you can see. Just for now, just forget this blue part which is here, the blue extra part. Just consider this particular example, this particular equation, which is arg minimum summation of yi minus bi xi. So this is basically the cost function that we use in linear regression, that is predicted minus actual minus predicted whole square and the summation of all those things. So that's what you called the cost function. You're trying to find the errors and summing it. And what we exactly used to do in linear regression is try to get the line which has the least cost. We have this particular cost function and we try to reduce it as much as possible to find the best fit line. So this is what we used to do in linear regression. But there is a chance that the training data that you have will, like, it can go for overfitting. Like you trained your model and the model has been overtrained a bit. So it can happen that if you're trying on a testing data, your answers are not as accurate as you want it to be, because if it's in overfitted, for training data it's going to be completely accurate, but for testing data it can give you some random results. So for that, just to like tackle the situation in which we found out the overfitting of linear regression, we got two new regression lines, which is ridge regression and lasso regression. So first we'll go for lasso. Okay, we'll go for lasso. So I guess you can see the picture here. So this is the first term, which is always similar. Summation of the actual minus predicted whole square. So this is the basic cost function that we use. Now what we used to do in ridge and lasso is we do the exact same thing that we do in linear one. We reduce the cost function, but the only difference in ridge and lasso is that we have different cost function. Like in linear regression, we have the cost function as actual minus predicted whole square 1 divided by 1 by 2m. That's a cost function, and we try to reduce it. Here we just modify the cost regression a bit and do the exact same thing. Now in the lasso regression, instead of this particular term, like this particular term will be there, we add one more term which is plus alpha of alpha is the hyperparameter. I'll tell you what exactly is alpha. Summation of wi. Wi stands for all the what's it called, coefficients of the attributes. As if we'll give an example, we are trying to find y is equal to mx plus c for the linear regression. Now we have m as the coefficient. In linear regression, we try to find out what y hat minus y actual whole square and the sum of all those things. That's the cost function. In lasso, we have the same term y hat minus y whole square, the summation of that, plus summation of alpha into the modulus of all the coefficients that you have in the term. Like if the term is y is equal to m1x plus m2x plus m3x, so you have the coefficient which is m1, m2, m3. You do the mod of every coefficient and then add it and then multiply it by alpha. This is what you do in lasso. What do you do in ridge is we do the same thing. Okay, here it's been represented as beta. It's still same thing. The coefficient, which is m1, m2, and m3, we add it. But before adding, what we used to do with the coefficients are we used to square the coefficient. Like if it's m1, y is equal to m1, m1x, m2x, m3x. So we take the m1, m2, m3, we square m1, m2, m3, and then add it. So you can see the only difference between lasso and ridge is the coefficients that you're using. In lasso, we just mod it and add. In ridge, we square it and add. And again, we have the same term, alpha or gamma, whatever you can you can represent anything you want. Now, these are the two equations for ridge and lasso. Exactly the same what we used to do in linear, but only the cost function has been changed. Now, why exactly we're doing this thing? You can just imagine There is, let me, okay, what happened? Why it's connecting? Hold on. Can everyone listen me? Can hear me? Just type yes or no something that you can hear me, because I'm getting a unstable connection notification in my screen. Cool, everyone can hear me. Then what's the problem? Okay. So I'll make I'll use a paint. Where is paint? Where is paint? Where is paint? Okay, just to show you what exactly we're doing in Ridge and Lasso. Now, just ignore my drawings because I'm drawing with a mouse. So imagine, array yaar. So just imagine this is your x-axis and y-axis, and this is your what? Let me just make the size a bit thick. Use this brush. Now, like imagine this is your line. This is your simple points, the object points, and this is your best fit line. Just imagine this is the best fit line. Now, if your points, which are like the testing one, is a bit below the best fit line. If you'll try to find out the errors, you'll find a bit of error. But what you are doing in Ridge and Lasso is, if I'll just split the screen, show you here, and okay, where is the pictures? So what we're doing in Ridge and Lasso is, we are adding this particular extra term in Ridge and Lasso. So what exactly we're doing? We are also giving the weight of the we're also giving the weight of the attribute coefficients, which is like y is equal to m1x, m2x. We're giving the coefficients a bit of weight. So it can happen that for this particular situation, this is the best fit line for a linear regression. Fine enough. Because for this we got a completely zero, like just imagine for if you'll try to find out the error for this line whenever, sorry, error for this line when you are trying to find out with a taking in consideration with linear regression, we'll get a zero. Just imagine we get a zero because all the training data are here. Fine. But on testing, we're getting a random error. Now, what happens in Ridge? Ridge, what we'll do now, we'll for the same line, we'll try to put the Ridge regression attribute. This particular term will be zero because for linear, if it's best fit for linear regression, then this particular term will be zero. The cost function for the cost function for this particular term will be zero. Now for this term, alpha of summation of beta square. So means all the equations that you have, y is equal to whatever mx plus c. I know it looks really bad, but just bear with it. So this particular m term. So you know m is the slope. It means more steeper the curve is, more high the value of m will be. If the value of m is lower, the flatten the line. If the line is a bit more steeper, the value of m will be really high. Okay. Now, what we're exactly doing here is trying to penalize the high slopes. As you can see, why are penalizing the high slopes? We can consider like this is particular one unit, 1 to 2. If you try to find out the value of 1, we will have come somewhere here. The value of 2, it will be somewhere here. So if you'll just map it to the y-axis, sorry, map it to the y-axis, it will be somewhere here. So it can be like for 1 to 2, you're getting output of 2 to 4. It means for every unit distance in x, you will getting a 2x distance in y. So it's considered a bit steep. It's considered a steeper graph. Let me get my eraser. So it consider a steeper graph. Now, what we're trying to do in region loss is we're trying to penalize the steepness. We're trying to penalize the high. Let me wrap this thing properly. far better. So we are trying to penalize the high steepness. So what you're going to do, you're going to add this particular term. So for linear one, we got this term as 0, the best fit line. But for ridge one, you got, just imagine, for this first two terms, the first term will be 0 because this is the best fit for linear one. But you got some value, like just imagine you got 1.6 for the second term. So the total cost will be 1.6. Total cost will be 1.6. Now imagine we tilted it a bit towards the x-axis. Now we made this particular line. Now if you try to make this particular line, the cost function will increase here. Like from 0 it can go to like 0.5. I'm just taking a rough consideration. Completely I can go for 0.5. But because we lower the steepness, it means the value of m is decreased. So if the value of m is decreased, this particular term will also be decreased. And just imagine even this particular term is decreased from 1.6 to 0.5. So now the total cost function is 1.0. Now which is the better cost? 1.6 or 1.0? You can see the lower the cost, the better the model. So 1.0 is the better model as compared to 1.6. So we are going to consider this particular line as a best fit line. We can do more iterations to find out which one is the best one, but we do not have to because the machine will do it for us. So this is what we do in ridge. The same thing happens in lasso. That this particular term will be 0 for linear one, but if you're going to add this particular term, again we're going to penalize the steepness of the graph. Same thing happen if it's 0. This particular term is giving 1.6 for this best fit line for linear one. We tilted it a bit towards the x-axis. This particular term increased a bit, and this particular term decreased. Now we're going to find a sweet spot where you get the minimum cost function, so that the answer that you will get will be not overfitted. Now you can see this line. If you just consider this line, these 2 points here, like let me just change the color. These 2 points here are the training points for which we made our line. So the first line will be first line that we had is the linear one, which is like completely fitting on that. If we'll try to find out the error with this line, you can see that there's a bit of error with the training data. But if you'll try to consider with the testing data, you can see the first testing data was here, second is here, third is here. So even the error for testing data is reduced. Now you can see what exactly happened is, for the first line, with the training data, error is completely 0, but for testing data, error is really, really big. The second line, there's a small error for training data and a small error with testing data. You can see the small error with training, the small error with testing. But the answer that we got is like what? Totally lower than what you're getting for the best fit line using linear regression. So that's why we go for lasso. Now there are cases when we go for lasso, not for linear one, is when we are checking the model and we found out that our model is been overfitted, that it's giving really good answer for training data set, but for testing it's going some crazy answers. Then we go for ridge and lasso. But if our model, our linear regression model, is giving a fine answer for the testing data set also, we don't go for lasso regression. So this is the exact mathematics behind the ridge and lasso. So I guess you understood about ridge and lasso. The only thing which I haven't told you about ridge and lasso is the value of alpha. Like how you exactly find out the value of alpha. Now there is no hard written rule that how you exactly find the value of alpha. Most of the time it's a smaller number. Sometimes it can be a really big number because the alpha can range from 0 till infinity. Any number is possible for alpha. To find out which one is the best value of alpha, we use a particular function in Python which is known as grid search. And when the code part, I'll show you what is grid search. But there's one. What is that? Okay. So this particular term is known as a hyperparameter. Now there are like two types of parameter. If I'll show you the code for now. If I'll show you the code for linear only for now, like where is linear? Okay, take it as a any regression. So for any model, you provide like just take this model, data like this in this function, fill NA, method is equal to fill. So this is called a parameter that you're providing for a function. So in machine learning, you have two types of parameters, model parameters and hyperparameters. So what is the difference between model parameter and hyperparameter? It's like what can I say? A really good questions which you'll get in interview, like what is the difference between a model parameter and a hyperparameter. So all the parameters which are dependent upon the data set that you're providing is known as a model parameter. That the parameters you're providing is completely dependent on the data set, like the value of x or the value of y, or how many numbers of folds that you want, or how many number of clusters that you want to make. It's completely dependent upon the data that you're providing. So that's what we call a model parameter. It depends upon the model. Hyperparameters are like what? Standalone numbers or standalone parameters which are not at all related to the data set. As you can see in this particular situation, the value of alpha is not at all related, anywhere related to what kind of data that you're providing. So that what kind of data that you're providing, he's not at all related to that. So that's why it's called a hyperparameter. So every time you'll see any parameter, you can just think like, what is a hyper? Is this a hyperparameter? Is this not a hyperparameter? It's like a debatable thing, because even if you'll go to the documentation of any function, you'll never get like this is a hyperparameter or this is a model parameter. You have to guess it, like, and you'll learn it with some experience. Like you'll get used to all the functions, then you'll get to know that which is a hyperparameter, which is not, which is a model parameter, which is not. But the most thing is you have to know what is the difference between a hyperparameter and a model parameter. And there's one term which is known as hyperparameter tuning. After making your model complete, you can still make your model more accurate. Like after you complete this particular model, this particular multiple linear regression model, we're taking this multiple linear model as an example. You can take this model and make it more accurate. How? By changing their hyperparameters. Now in multiple linear regression or any linear regression, simple linear regression, it's not possible because simple linear regression doesn't have any hyperparameters. Ridge and lasso have, so you can fine tune your model more, you like tuning the hyperparameters. In multiple or simple linear regression model, it's not possible because there's no any hyperparameters. All the other functions have different kinds of hyperparameters that you can provide. Some has one hyperparameter, some has like 10 or 20 hyperparameters that you can play with. So these are the function parameters that you can play and try to find out the best spot to get your model more accurate. Because in hyperparameter tuning, you're not even changing the what kind of data that you're providing, what kind of cross-validation you're testing, just changing one or two numbers and their hyperparameters to make your model more accurate. So this is what hyperparameters are. Now we'll go to the code of ridge and lasso regression. Now, as I told you, sklearn has all the libraries present, like a built-in function for all the machine learning models, and it also has many datasets present. So this time we're going to use a Boston dataset. Now Boston dataset has, as you can see, types of wait, it's gone. 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 So Boston dataset has like it has features of a house, and the resultant is what is the price of the house. So Boston dataset is a really famous dataset. If you don't want to use a Boston dataset from here, you can just type in Google Boston dataset. You'll get a Boston dataset from anywhere because it's a really famous dataset. Now, to use the Boston dataset from the dataset of sklearn only, you just have to write from sklearn.dataset import load Boston. So the Boston dataset will get loaded into the system. So execute this line. Now, these are the libraries that we use all the time: NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib to show the graph. But here we haven't even shown any graph because it's not useful. It's like it's my habit to write these 4 lines. sklearn.matrix to find out the accuracy score or mean squared error, root mean error, what every kind of error. Now, to get the Boston dataset, we use the function load Boston and save it into a variable df. Now, if you'll use any dataset which is present in the sklearn library by default, you're not going to get a data frame directly. You're going to get some kind of a batch array. If you'll try to see the type of this df, type, you can see, let me execute this again. It's a bunch data because it's not a data frame that you are expecting. This is the data frame that you expect from the model. But when you get the data, it's kind of a bunch. Now the bunch has, you can imagine a bunch as a dictionary. Dictionary has keys and values. So the first key is the data, which is the independent variables, and the key has the data and all the data that you have. It's saved in an array kind of structure. So all the data that you have. Target is the independent variable that you want. Target has all the dependent variable that you want. Now the feature name. Feature name tells you the column names. What are the columns which are there? So the feature names are CRM, ZN, Indus, Chaos, Knox. I never understood like what exactly this stands for, but it's there. So now using all these things, you have to make a data frame because you're gonna work on the data frame directly. You cannot like directly use this thing. You can use this thing, but it's a bit complicated as compared to any data set. So what we do is we take this data and we convert it into a data set. Now we know this is the data that we want, this is the target that we want, and this is the feature that we want. Now we use the data set. We use the pandas data frame to create the data set. Now df is a bunch data. It has three functions, like it has more than three functions, but three functions are the most important one: df.data, df.target, and df.featurename. So if you'll write df.data, it will return you all the data set, like all the data. This particular data you'll get it. If you write df.target, you'll get this particular data, the target data. If you write df.featurename, you get this data. So what we did is we use the data set to like as a variable, and we use panda.data frame, and we provide the data as df.data. So what we got is all the values that you have here is saved in this data set. You can see this particular, just a rows and column data set has been fitted. Okay, hold. Saloni, how to decide which to use between ridge and lasso? So there's no, again, no handwritten rule that which one to use, ridge or lasso, but most of the time lasso gives a better result than ridge. It happens that sometimes even ridge gives a better result. There's one difference between ridge and lasso which no one actually like figures out, but if you're trying to like if you have a function y is equal to m1x plus m2x plus m3x till whatever, if you're using ridge, it can reduce the steepness. It means the value of m will be decreased a bit, but it will never go to 0. It will be like 0.01, but it will be there. But if you use lasso, there's a possibility that you can make any of your dependencies completely 0. That one of the from m1 to mn, and like you can imagine m2 went to completely 0. It is possible, but in ridge it's not possible. This is one difference that you can figure out, that if you don't want any of your attributes to be completely 0, then you go for ridge. But if you're fine with any of the attributes to be completely 0, that you don't even care about that attribute now, you can use lasso. Most of the time you can just use ridge and lasso both and just find out which is the best one. What is fine tuning? Fine tuning stands for like using the hyperparameters to make your model more accurate. We'll go about the fine tuning in this particular model only, not to worry. Now we made this particular data set as df.data. Now we can see the data set has been created, not exactly what we used to look, but okay, it's in a rows and columns like structure. Now what we want is we need this row, like this column. Like we know this column has the names CRM, ZN, Indus, Chaos. We need it here. So what we do is we use dataset.columns and we provided df.featurenames. So if you use the df.featurename, it's gonna return you this thing. Now we're gonna fit the dataset.columns as df.featurenames. Now if you're gonna print the dataset, you got the dataset that we are used to work on. We have the same data, you can see, but now it looks more like a dataset that we used to work on, having the having all the columns. Now if you remember, data has only the independent values, not the dependent ones. Hold on. Not the dependent one, means the target value is still out. Now we have to add the target value also, because you can see the target value is not here. So what we do is dataset.price is equal to df.target. So df.target will give you the whole dependent value or the value of y, and we're keeping the name of the column as price. So dataset.price is equal to df.target. So now if you'll use the function, like see the dataset, it's exactly the same as previous one, but we have a new row which is price, having the answer of each and every row. Like for each and every attribute for the first row, what is the price? For each and every attribute of the second row, what is the price? So this is a dataset that's been ready. Now we're going to use the models. Now we use the ilog function to split the data into dependent and independent variables. What we want for independent variable is all this data till here, like not this particular last price column. We just need all this data. So what we used to do, so for providing the number of rows, we left it blank because we need all the rows. Okay, fine. So we left the rows blank. For the columns, we need all the columns except the last one. So we start for the starting one, we haven't specified. It means from the starting. For the ending, we've specified -1. You know, if you're using ilog or any indexing in either in list or functions, you can indexing from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can indexing from -1, -2 also. So -1 stands for the last column. -2 stands for the second last column. -3 stands for the third last column. So what we're providing is -1. So from the starting, you have to take till -1. And I've told you so many times that it includes the starting point, but it excludes the ending point. So it's gonna take the starting point, which is the CRM, but it'll exclude the ending point, which is the price. So it will take the data only till here, because it's gonna exclude the ending point. Okay, so sorry. So we got the excess data set. Now why what we want is only this much. This is the data. The price column is what we needed for the y-axis. So again, we need all number of rows, all the rows, but what we exactly want, only this particular column. So all number of rows, by not providing any data for the rows, it means all number of rows, and we provide the specific column which is -1. So we give me just this. So if I'll execute this line, and if I'll print X, sorry, capital X, you can see this is the data that you have for X. What is the value of Y? This is the value that you have for Y. This is the value. Now things have been done. Now we can use the last time I taught you about the cross validation. Now I'll show you how exactly we're going to use the cross validation. We're going to use linear regression first, and we'll see how Ridge and Lasso makes it more accurate. Now sklearn model selection, we have to import the cross validation score. So in model selection folder of sklearn, you have the cross validation score function, which is gonna find our cross validation. And sklearn.linear models, if you import linear regression, is the same thing that we did for any linear regression. What we did, we make an object of linear regression, same thing. Now we take a we take an object, like now we take a variable, and we call the function cross val score. Now what cross val score takes? It takes first it takes the model, which is the linear regression model that we made. It takes the x value and the y value that we have. Now we take the scoring, like on what basis it should consider. Like yesterday, when I told you about the cross validation or any validation, it checks the accuracy or any validation score that you can provide. It can be accuracy, it can be precision, it can be mean squared error, root mean squared error, whatever. So you have to provide something like that. Now, if you want to know what all attributes you can provide here, there's a function which is known as metrics.scores in capital .keys. So if you'll run this particular function, you'll get all the dictionaries keys which are allowed it. So negative mean squared error is one of the attributes which is allowed it. Now in cross validation, there's one limit that you cannot use any continuous value, because if you know, accuracy is a continuous value. You can get from 0 till 100. It is a continuous value. It can be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, anything. It's a continuous value. But mean squared error is a single digit number. It's not an accuracy, like a continuous value. The same goes for ROC also, same goes for Jacquard also, that it's a continuous digit. We need a continuous value. We need a specific digit. So we can use mean squared error, max error, negative, median, absolute error. Now, mean squared error is the same thing that we learned in the previous classes. Negative stands for the negative of that. we're going to find for the mean squared error, we're just going to put a negative sign. And why we're putting the negative sign instead of -1, can we give 14? Where? You can give. Yeah, you can give, but the thing is, you should know that the number of columns is 14. If you're going to go and count number of columns is 14 and give them a value of y is 14, fine enough. But if we know that we're going to only access the last column, just write -1. You do not have to even consider what is the number of columns which are there. If we know that the last column has the target value, and most of the time the data set that you will get, last column will has the target value all the time. So don't even consider considering the size, just give -1. Okay, so now mean squared error is the same thing that we learned. Why we put negative is, I have no idea. I'm still trying to figure out why in God's name they made this function as a negative mean squared error. They just do the same thing. They just find the mean squared error and they just put a negative sign behind that. I have no idea why they do that, honestly. So we could put the scoring, which is what exact base or whatever base will be. This is the mean squared error. Now CV is equal to 5. Now in cross validation score, if we'll go and check what CV stand for, CV is a cross validation generator, or the number that you provide. Because yesterday I told you about k-fold cross validation or satisfied k-fold cross validation. You have to provide the value of k, or the number of folds you want to create in your data set. So we're providing it 5. You can provide 10, 20, 30, whatever you want. Now, which kind of cross validation this function is providing? Cross val score. It's providing satisfied k-fold cross validation, because this is the best cross validation score which is possible. So you can see integer to specify the number of folds in a stratified k-fold cross validation. This is what you're providing in CV is equal to 5. Now CV is equal to 5, it means 5 k-fold has been provided. So what it will return is, it will return a list of 5 different mean squared error. Okay, so all the 5 different mean squared error, like for the first iteration, you'll get a mean squared error. For the second iteration, you'll get a mean squared error. For the third iteration, you'll get a mean squared error. Fourth iteration, mean squared error. 5 also, mean squared error. So it will be saved in a list. Now to find the mean of the means, find the mean of that, all the accuracy that you've got, or all the mean squared error that you got, we just used np.mean and we provide the list MSC and we print it. So the accuracy that we got is -37, -37.13 something. So it's not a really good model, because our error is really far away from 0. What we have to do in mean squared error is to keep it as close as 0. So if we can do something which can reduce this -37 to -36 or 28 or whatever, means we're improving our model. A meaning number of experiments. Yeah, you can say minimum number of experiments only. So now we're going to do what? Ridge and lasso. Before Ridge and lasso, I'll just explain you about grid search CV. Now, grid search CV is a function which is used for hyperparameter tuning. Now, hyperparameter tuning, as I told you, you just have to change the numbers a little bit. The independent numbers, which are not at all related to the data set, you have to change the values to make your model more accurate. Now, you cannot exactly get to know that which exact number is the best fit one, because it's a independent number. It's not at all dependent on any of the machine that you're making. It's like depends on condition to condition, what can fit, what cannot. So you have to, you can just test which one is the best one. So for that we use a grid search CV. What we do with grid search CV is we provided the parameters, like what you think will be the best values. As I've told you in Ridge, we have the cost function as summation of y minus y hat whole square plus alpha of m square. So to find the value of that alpha, we need, because we don't know what can be the best value of alpha, we try with every value of alpha we can think is the best one. So what we provide? 10 to power minus 15, 10 to power minus 10, 10 to power minus 8, 10 to power minus 3, 10 to power minus 2, 1, 5, 10. Like we have different numbers that we tried on. No handwritten rule that only this particular number that you have to find on. We can try for more specific things. That for this particular example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 15 different values on which you're going to test. You can have 1500 also. The only thing which will happen is it's going to take time to execute. But you'll get a better value of alpha. So we're going to test on each and every value. Now, instead of specifically providing, like, you're making the model by yourself, like ridge equal and then alpha is equal to this particular number, then again trying alpha is equal to this particular number, we use a function grid search CV. Now what grid search CV will do, it will take the model, it will take the parameters that you're providing, it will take the scoring again, like on what basis it can guess which is the best one, and again the cross validation. Now even grid search CV works in cross validation. Now I will come from the starting. We use the linear regression. Now we're going to use the ridge regression. So sklearn.linear model, ridge regression, sklearn.model selection, we import the grid search CV to fine tune the hyperparameters. Now same thing as linear regression. We made our object of the ridge regression. We set the parameters to set the parameters, and the parameter name is alpha. You can see in ridge regression, alpha is there. So we have to provide the name of the parameter on which you're going to test. So we provide the name of the parameter, which is alpha, and these are all the values on which you're going to test on. Now we made a ridge regression, which is grid search CV. Grid search CV, we provide the model ridge. This is a particular model ridge. We provide the parameters on which you're going to test. So these are the parameters that we're going to test. This is a scoring, like on what basis we're going to check our score, mean squared error, and the number of cross validations. Now after executing this thing, the ridge regression will be a model which will have the best value of alpha, like the best value in this particular all the parameters that you provided. It can be possible that the best possible value is not the one which is given by the model because you haven't provided the number here. It completely comes in a guessing. In scoring, we can use any other function also to find error. Yes, you can. As I've shown you here, max error, negative mean absolute error, negative median absolute error, negative mean absolute error, negative mean squared error. You can have n number of stuff that you can try upon. We always go for mean absolute error because this is the smallest one. Depends. You can go for anything. Now we made the model as grid search CV and we fit the model with the value of x and y. Now you can execute this line. You get a deprecation warning that some of the values will be some of the functions will be removed. No need to consider that because they never remove it for some reason. Now if you want to know, after testing all these things, the grid search CV, out of all the values that you have provided, which one is the best value of alpha? And for the best value of alpha, what is the best score that we got? Now in the previous one, we find the mean squared error is -37. After testing with grid search CV on ridge, we have two functions which is known as dot best params dot best score. Now best params gives you the best parameter out of all the values that you have provided. So if you'll run these two lines, where it's gone. So it's telling the best parameter is that for the value of alpha 100, you have the best scoring. And what is the best scoring? It's -29.87. Score stands for the same, mean squared error. Big scoring is exactly what you provided with score. Best score stands for exactly what you provided scoring. So if you provide the negative means negative absolute error. So best score will provide you the absolute error. So it's not depending upon the error score that it's 0 to 100 only. It depends on what scoring method that you provided. So for this model, it's telling for the value of alpha 100, you got the score as -29. So you can see comparing -37 and -29, this value is more closer to 0. So this is a better model as compared to this one. Now we're going to do the same thing with lasso. We've made the lasso. We have made an object. We are going to use the grid search CV. We use the alpha values. We made the alpha values as the same numbers that we have here. We wrote the same line, lasso regressor. So the only thing that we did in these two things are just change the value of ridge to lasso. We made this the object difference. That's it. The same thing. Everything is same. Again, we give the grid search CV. Again, we'll make sure what you give in grid search CV. In grid search CV, first we give the model, then we give the parameters. We give the model, then we give the parameters, then we give the scoring, and then we give the number of cross validations that you want. Again, do the same thing, execute the line, you get the answer as for alpha of 1, we get the best value. And what is the best value? For the best value, what is the best score? It's minus 35. Now we can see comparing to minus 37 of the linear regression, minus 35 is better. Now you can see comparing Ridge and Lasso, Ridge worked better than Lasso. It's rare. Most of the time, Lasso works better than Ridge. In this particular example, Lasso is working, not working better than Ridge, but most of the time you'll find that Lasso is working better than Ridge. So now you can see that for this particular data set, if we provided the linear regression, we have this error, but we can, assuming that this is a overfit data, we tried with Ridge and Lasso, and our model has been improved. So hold on. Okay, instead of providing a set of values of best value, can we just start with any random number and make it also predict the best value in each iteration? You can do that. For that, there's a different function which is known as random random search CV. So what random search CV does is, it's not going to take the input from you. It's going to just randomly select the numbers from 0 to infinity, and whenever it gets a best value score, like it has a limit of like, it will try for like 1,000 numbers. What's the condition? Like, either it's 1,000 number or the changes for the value stops. Something happens. I'll tell you tomorrow. I don't remember because we don't generally use random search CV. For that particular condition, it's gonna stop and give you the result. So this is a random search. In grid search, you can do one thing, which is if you want to make your model more accurate, we can do one thing. For the first, like, you can make this grid search CV as a iterative measure also, like make it in a for loop. So the first time we found out the value of alpha, because this time the range is from 10 to the power minus 15 to 100. For this, we have the value of alpha as 1. So you know, if the value of alpha if the best fit score is not 1, it can be close to 1 only, because if out of all this section 1 is the best, we found 1 is the best, so the global maximum, or the global best will be somewhere close to 1. So for the next iteration, we take this number, we split it into 10 different spaces, like 0.1, like from 1 what you can split 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.34 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 1.2, 1.3 till 2. Like you can make a whole new list with that, and again use the grid search CV. And if you want to make it more accurate, find the number. If you found out like it's okay for that particular iteration, 0.3 gives you the best value of alpha. Now split 0.3, 0.01, 0.02, 0.03 till 0.3 on go access to that. You can do that also, but it's kind of a hectic thing to do. So you have you can just use different like functions. So the random, so better for my, it's not better. It completely depends on your luck. If the random search went to the best fit model, so the best fit value of alpha, it's fine. If it doesn't, you still have to believe it, because you cannot, unless and until you find out the best fit of the hyperparameter, you cannot say this is the best fit, because you have no any reason, like you have no any scenario in which you will get to know that this is the best parameter or not. It can happen that for this particular example, alpha is equal to 100 is the best fit parameter. We're trying to find out for 101, 102, 103, but 100 is the best one. We don't know yet. This is the problem of hyperparameter tuning. That's why hyperparameter is completely different, like completely separated from the data set. It's not at all related anywhere, because you have no idea what can happen when you change the hyperparameter. So you just we never try to find out the best one. We just try to, like, that's what you call in fine tuning. What exactly in like real world, what exactly you do with fine tuning? You just make some small changes and try to find out till whatever we are satisfied with. We're trying to like fine tune our model. We got our model as 98% accurate. We are fine with it. We'll leave it. It can happen that in an ideal condition, your model can go to 99% accuracy, but we are fine with 98. We stop it there. Okay, fine. We are not every time trying to make our model completely accurate or as much accurate as it can be. If you're fine with that much, it's completely fine. You're not gonna waste your time in hyperparameter tuning that much, because when you're gonna make a big model, you're not gonna have only one hyperparameter. You can have like 10 to 15 different hyperparameters that you have to fine tune. So consider the best hyperparameter that you can fine tune, make it as better as you can. If the model became better, like if the model became as good as you want, fine enough, you'll stop it there. You cannot just continue hyperparameter tuning the hyperparameters. What it is. So we saw about ridge and lasso. Now, just to see what all prediction that we are doing. Now, dot predict is a function that predicts the data depending upon the data set, the test data that you're providing. So dot predict, now, again, I'll tell you, dot fit and dot predict are the functions which you're going to use each and every time in each and every model, machine learning model, from the basic machine linear regression to the last of like what k-nearest neighbors or any hierarchical clustering. We have this particular function which is fit and predict. Fit for fitting mode, making the model, predict to guess the data. So we provide the X test and we get the prediction. We provide the X test and get the prediction for the first is the lasso and second the ridge. We just spread the data. So the first data set is for prediction of ridge. So actual is 22, predicted is 23, actual is 50, predicted is 24. You can see there's a huge difference in this particular example. Actual is 23, prediction 27, kind of fine. That's why we're getting a big errors. Second column is for actual and the predicted of lasso. So you can see predicted of lasso is kind of similar only because both have a big error, like minus 35, minus 29, minus 37, all have big errors. So that. Now if you want to see the mean absolute error, a root mean squared error, you can use the same matrix again. Matrix.mean absolute error. We provide the y test and the predicted value. So it means what exactly provide? The actual value and the predicted value. And on the basis of that, you'll get a mean squared error. So for the first time, we are finding for the ridge. For the ridge, the mean absolute error is 3.6 something. The root mean squared is 5.29. For lasso, we have the mean absolute error is 3.7 and the root is 5.56. When you'll do the work on yourself, like on your own, there's a high probability that lasso will give you the more accurate result as compared to ridge. This time it doesn't. Fine. So this is what ridge and lasso are. I guess you have understood it. Ridge and lasso are a bit complicated to understand like why exactly they are made. So I'll suggest you to like go through the video again or read anything. Like you can go to YouTube and search for the video like if you want. Now if you have any doubt, you can just type or turn on your microphone and ask. Sorry. Any good reference you suggest for this topic? Okay, for reference, you know, till now, whatever all the modules that I've gone through, all the online courses that I went through, I guess all of you know about Coursera and the machine learning courses that's available there. The best one is the Andrew NG one. It's the best course that you can find in any of the platform. The only downside of that particular course is it doesn't tell you how to write the code because the course is a bit old. So the only place when they'll show you the code is on, I guess it's on Octave. Octave is a really old language. So the only thing which is the downside of this particular course, other than that, if you want to get to know like how exactly the model works, how exactly the hyperparameter tuning is happening, how exactly the model is working, you can refer to that course. The videos are really good. They're like completely in depth. You have to like go through the videos one or twice to get grasp each and everything what Andrew sir is telling. So if you want to go through any good references, I'll suggest you to go through that course. It's a big course, by the way. So if you start that course, there's a high probability that you'll leave it in between if you're not motivated enough. It's a big course. And if you don't want to like completely depend upon that, just try to find out the exact video that you want to see. Like for the region lasso, you'll have a whole list. Find the region lasso one and just watch the video. Any other question? When will we get your project? Just tomorrow. Where can I refer for learning with coding? This mentorship program. Where else you want to go and try? Tomorrow we have class. Yeah, I was thinking of taking a class like only 15 to 20 minutes because I spent the whole day with, like, Tuesday I couldn't take the class. So tomorrow I'll just take like 15 to 20 minutes. It will be a small topic and then I'll just explain you the project that you have to do and you're good to go. And tomorrow's project is not going to be anything on machine learning. It's only going to be for data visualization. And I'm only giving the data visualization so that you'll be familiarized with all the numpys and pandas functions. Okay. Any other questions? And if it's not, then a thumbs up. Cool. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Okay, looks like everyone is clear now. So if you have any doubts with Region Lasso, text us in the group or text me personally, whatever you want. And I suggest you to text you on the group instead of texting me personally because what can happen is there are places when you will not go through the error, but someone else will. And as I've told you so many times, the best way to learn is go and strike yourself onto an error and try to find out the error. Because when you try to find out the error, you learn so many stuff. So if you have any error, just post it on the group so that even other people can see that this particular error can happen with them and how to tackle with them. So this is the one suggestion that I can give you. Other than that, class has been done. Happy learning. Bye bye.